Alright guys, it's been a little bit of time since the last time I did any filming, probably been about a week and a half. I've been working the entire time trying to get this project done and just didn't want to deal with the camera while I was working, because it was always just, I'd work for a couple of minutes, I'd have to stop. I'd work for a couple of minutes, I'd have to stop. So let me show you the progress I've made in those little blocking increments, and then we'll pick it up with a little more work today on something else. So let's take a look. All right, inside the car, a lot of work has been done. I know it doesn't look like it because there's still wires dangling all over the place. Some of these are hooked up, some of them won't be hooked up. I've added all my gauges from the last car. I've got my tack. I got that old no-name brand tack that was in here out. I put the 3 gauges that I look at here: water, temperature, oil pressure, and then voltage. The fuel level gauge, which came in the car, is kind of hooked up. The sender's not hooked up, so although it turns on, it reads empty all the time. I did get the battery hooked up for the first time just recently. Mega Squirt is installed, although not bolted down still. Adding and subtracting wires to this umbilical cord that runs through the entire car. Intercooler just sitting back there, that's not where it's going to go. Shifter is still not mounted, still have a giant hole in the floor, but I can show you. We can turn on the electricity. I can do a couple things with that. That's out of the way. So main power turns on, red light indicates. Like I said, fuel gauge reads empty. I think I wired up my voltage gauge wrong, because obviously I'm not making over 18 volts off just the 12 volt battery, but I can look into that. I think I know what I did. Fuel pump is in, which I'll show you in a second, but I'll click it. There's no fuel in it, so I don't want it to just run empty. Ignition, although you can't hear the MSD box turn on, you can hear the relay. I don't know if you can hear it, it's clicking. Lights come on, all the gauges light up. It's also wired to the tail lights, so I have that hooked up. So now my tail lights come on with this switch. I don't have any headlights in the car because the front end's still not on, so there's no headlights turning on when I hit this switch. This one's hooked to a relay. You can hear it clicking, although it doesn't do anything yet. I labeled this one ignition. This one's probably gonna be labeled transmission, because that'll be probably the line lock and bump box that power up when I hit this switch, neither of which are installed at this point in time. So rather than try to label it transmission, rather than label it bump box and whatever the hell I just said, I don't remember. I'm just gonna label it transmission. Fuel pump is installed. Same fuel pump, same filter, same configuration. Here's the wires for that, the fuel level. You can see the ground there is not touching anything. So that's going to have to get grounded out somewhere. It's hooked to the fuel cell. So there's a fuel line going in, but clearly nothing going out. So even if there was fuel in the tank, I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. That's actually going to be the project for today, is fixing the fuel lines. I don't know if I can get it on camera here, but they're damaged up front. So I'm going to have to cut the return line and then attach a compression fitting to go from the hard line to the AN line, the braided nylon. As far as up here is concerned, the oil filter relocation has been mounted. I thought I had the correct size lines. This is the original line that came off it. It was brittle and falling apart, so I wasn't going to attempt to reuse it. Plus, when we took the engine out of the last car, we just cut those lines. They cut like fucking nothing. They pretty much fell apart, so I'm glad I'm not going to try to reuse them. So that's where it's going to sit. It's not near anything hot, and it's really easy to access. I now have the down pipes mocked up. They're tacked into place. Don't mind those booger welds. Those are years old. This pipe from this flange down to here is actually how it was on the last car. It was wrapped up so you could never see it. These will end up getting wrapped as well. So again, you'll never see it. But until I can finish welding everything, it's out there in the open to show how horrible my welds were a couple years ago. Goes down here, doesn't, it's aimed out the side, although it doesn't actually go all the way to the edge. I might extend it later on after the body is on. I'm not going to guess, I'm not going to deal with that right now. So once the body's on, the front end, then I'll make my decision there. I've also considered splitting that into dual 2.5-inch pipes. So I thought that might look cool sticking out the side, but again, without the body in place, I'm not going to worry about it right now. Line lock's just dangling, it's not attached to anything clearly. Master cylinder is installed but not hooked to anything. I have a couple pieces on order for that. I can't really hook it up yet. Some of the stuff will come from the local, like the brake lines. I'll get those locally, but I needed some adapters to go from the hard line to the braided line. I didn't have the correct ones. Alternator's all wired up. I mean, not all wired up. I still don't have this wire. I'm looking around the garage to see if I have some heavy gauge cable. I'm not coming up successful, although that wire's not cheap. 20-foot section to run to the back is only like 20-30 bucks. It's not that big of a deal. Got water temperature sensors hooked up. Down there we got oil pressure is hooked up, and then the red wire that you see poking through here is attached to this, which is the trigger for the alternator. So when I hit the main power switch, it energizes the alternator. Still no radiator installed yet. It's not a huge priority, so plus it's in the way when I try to work anywhere in this front area of the motor. Downpipe on this side is in as well. I can turn the tires lock to lock without it even coming close, even though it looks like it's close right now. Plenty of clearance. Oil feed line for this turbo as well as that side. The drain on this side's not hooked up because it's hard to see, but basically I can't press or push the hoses on very easily with the drain line in because it's so close. So that's why it's just dangling, although it's already been built, set up, all that good stuff. This line's also installed. It's a little close. I'm actually going to make a mount that will lift it up a little bit higher, and that'll keep it angled downward more consistently, because right now it pretty much drops all at the beginning and then it's kind of horizontal to the tank. If I lift it up a little bit, not only will I avoid any melting situations here, but I'll also have better oil drainage going back. So fuel lines in the front are hooked up. Same thing I'm going to do in the back. Compression fitting adapted to the braided line. Throttle cable is, well, the bracket's in place. This is still not hooked up, but at least it's attached at the firewall. It's still not attached to the gas pedal, but that takes a couple of seconds. I'm not worried about that. Still undecided on whether I want to use the headlights that I got with this car. Sure, they're not bad looking, but they do have, I think some of them were cracked, like I'm missing hardware. I'm not sure if I bought aftermarket, would it come with new nuts. One of these I was not happy with. Yeah, this one right here is broken, so I don't know how well you see it moving around. I feel like it's not gonna, I don't know, it's cracked there too. I'm thinking about just buying some one-piece headlights on eBay. I've seen that I like. They're like $100. It'd be a lot easier to mount them too, since it's just one giant piece rather than 3 individual pieces on each side that I got to mount up. I will be putting my tail lights in, since this one's got a crack on the top and right there. I did test the lights in here do work, so they'll all get reused. One of the things I'd like to get done real soon is finish up the wiring. Oh, I left all the electricity on. There we go. I guess the other thing to show off is the relay panel. So we're still making progress on this. I now have labels, so at least I know what everyone does, and anyone who works on the car with me already knows what everything does. I still have a couple left over, but I'm sure I'll find something something that I can wire into the car at some point in time. Here's the trigger, the switch I told you that doesn't do anything. It would, triggers this one. Power comes out of here. I don't have anything hooked up there. Like I said, it's probably gonna be the transmission. So there'll be power coming out of here, and then it'll run over the car where it'll activate the trans brake button, which is on the top of the shifter. And then I'll also have my bump box, which is floating around here somewhere, that'll allow me to creep forward.